You're living a lie. You literally have a mask on your face and you're playing this fake character that just isn't you. And it's not your fault because this innate desire that every single human being has to be a part of a tribe and to belong, otherwise you'd literally die, has been taken advantage of. From a very young age, you are taught to fit in. You're taught to follow the crowd. So you just find that everyone is the same. Everyone's a clone of each other. There's no individuality left. But you need to discover your authentic self and actually live authentically in order to not just be the most confident version of yourself, which allows you to be the most successful version of yourself, but also just to live a happy life. Because you're never going to be happy pretending to be someone you're not. So, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to discover your authentic self the same way that I did. So you can start living authentically, being yourself, attracting people who like the real you, not this fake version that you portray to the world, and actually just living a much happier life in general. Now, the first thing that you need to do to discover your authentic self is you need to cast your mind back to childhood, because that's where the deception began. You need to ask yourself, what was I genuinely interested in? I look around me and all of a sudden everyone's interested in football. Some call it soccer. But truthfully, is everyone really into football? Some people were into music. Some people were into art. Some people were into drama. But everyone is told football, football, football. And if you're not a football fan, if you're not talking about the game on the weekend, if you don't know exactly who scored and the kind of goal they scored, people look at you weirdly like, bro, how do you not know that? Like, did you not watch it? Everyone is a clone of each other. So ask yourself, cast your mind back. What was I genuinely interested in? I mean, if you even have to ask your parents, ask them. Look through old photos. For me personally, I've always been a sportsman. I'm very much into sport. You can see me now. I'm in amazing shape. I wasn't always. I used to be skinny, but I always loved sport. But sport wasn't just the only thing that I did. I also loved cooking. When I was younger, my mom genuinely believed that I was going to be a chef when I grew up. Because somehow, somewhere, you give me any ingredients, Chef OD will cook up the best meal out of nowhere. Like, the sky is blue, yes. OD will cook an amazing meal. Also, yes. That's how undeniable I was in the kitchen. But I also loved art as well. I remember from a very young age, I was always drawing. And I used to draw Lamborghinis, I used to draw Ferraris, and I'll own the same cars that I used to draw when I was a kid. I have to for him, for that younger version of myself. But that's something that I also loved. And I also used to sing in the choir, and I used to love music. But I found that as I grew up, the only thing that I ever focused on was sports. The only thing that I ever spoke about was sports. Because everyone else was like sport, sport, sport. Who's in the first team for rugby? Because I play rugby. And I got into the first team and I was great at rugby. But I wasn't living authentically because there were so many other parts of me that I was neglecting. It's like you're living just focusing on like 50% of yourself when there's a whole other 50% of you that you just completely neglect. And the more you just focus on this 50% of yourself, the more you're not going to feel complete in life. So start thinking to yourself, start casting your mind back. Ask your mom if you have to. What did I love? What did I truthfully enjoy? And reconnect with these things that you once loved, that you once used to enjoy so much and you've neglected. Because as you reconnect with these things, you're going to actually discover your authentic self more. You're going to realize that there's more to you than you even realize. Because there's so much depth to each of us. And we are individuals. We're not numbers that are just the same as each other. No person out there in the entire world shares your fingerprint. Think about that. No one shares your fingerprint. You are one of one. So you trying to be like everyone else is an insult. And I know you want to fit in. I know you want to have friends and like, oh, we talk about this. This is what we bond on. Yeah, that is what you bond on. But would you have friends by being this fake version of you? Is that the kind of friend you want? Because if you think about it, that kind of friend who likes the fake version of you doesn't actually like you, like the real, raw, authentic version of you. They like this fake, masked version that you portray. And that means that now you're actually pushing away all of these people that would like the real, raw, authentic version of you that you don't show. So start being yourself. Genuinely tap into those old childhood habits and hobbies that you had. Like recently, I've started playing the drums. I play the drums and I'm really good at it. I didn't even know I had this skill, but I cast my mind back and I've always been musically inclined. I haven't been drawing yet. I do want to draw more. But in terms of the kitchen, Chef OD is back. I literally never in my life made pancakes. Okay, pancakes isn't crazy. I put my hands up. Pancakes isn't crazy. But I've never made pancakes in my life. And it was my parents' birthday. They share the same birthday. And I was like, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to make them pancakes in the morning. And I genuinely, with no recipe whatsoever, I just knew the ingredients I needed: flour, eggs, and milk. I somehow made the best pancakes ever. You should have heard my mom. She was like, these pancakes, 9.5 out of 10, better than my pancakes. And she wasn't even trying to glaze me or kind of hype me up. She was being honest. I am insane in the kitchen. And I get so much joy from actually tapping into this hobby that I've always had, but I'd neglected for so long. So think about how much joy you'll gain from actually rediscovering this long lost hobby that you just left behind. Now, the second thing you need to do to discover your authentic self is to journal. I was explaining this to a guy in my community on a call today, and I was saying that journaling is really important. Think of yourself as two people. You have your conscious mind, which is what you're constantly thinking about, and that's, let's say, the girl who just is always talking and sharing her feelings and always like telling them what's wrong in her life. And then you have your subconscious mind, which is in the back, and it's like that guy that never really shares what's on his mind unless he's really asked. Journaling caters for the subconscious mind, the thoughts that are suppressed, the feelings that you never experience. And through journaling, you actually discover who you really are. You go really deep into yourself and you realize that there's so much more to you than you ever even realized. Like I'm journaling and, I'm writing down everything that's going on in my mind, just brain dumping onto the paper. And I'm realizing certain things that I could have never realized without journaling. I'm figuring out these equations about myself. And that's allowing me to get to know myself on a much deeper level. Journaling is like having a conversation with yourself through the paper. In the same way that you'd get to know someone a lot better through conversating with them in real life. When you journal and you conversate with yourself through the paper, you get to know yourself on a very, very deep level. And if you get to know yourself, you're going to realize who the real you is. Because again, a lot of us are actually reflections of what other people want us to be. People tell us all the time who we are. And if you don't spend enough time with yourself, speaking to yourself, getting to know yourself better, even if people are telling you stuff that isn't true at all, you'll believe it. So you need to journal. You need to actually discover who you are. Have a conversation with yourself. Get to the bottom of what's going on in your mind, why you think the way you think, why you are the way you are. And that even links to a wider topic. People don't even think anymore. Genuinely, thinking is rare. Like, when was the last time you just sat down without distraction, no phone, no conversation with another person, and you just thought? Like, you had a problem and you genuinely tried to figure out that problem through thinking. It doesn't happen anymore. So journal. Get to actually speak to yourself. Get to know yourself better on a deeper level, because it's a conversation between yourself and yourself. And through doing this, you're going to rediscover your authentic self. You're going to get to know yourself on such a deep level that someone might tell you something about you that just isn't true, and it won't even faze you because you're so secure in your knowledge of who you are. And obviously, getting to know yourself is an ongoing journey because you're always changing and evolving. And that's why you have to continue journaling. You can't just do it one day and then you never do it again. Journal consistently. Even me, I'm going to journal tonight. I have a lot of things I need to discuss with myself. The third thing you need to do to discover your authentic self is spend more time alone. You don't realize this, but our brains are so easily influenced. Like, have you ever been around a child? Like, I was around a child the other day and I was in a restaurant eating this really nice steak. And this child was looking at me as I was eating my food. Obviously, it was a bit awkward at first. Like, why are you staring at me? But after a while, I was making some faces at the child. Like, just being a nice guy. Trying to make the kid laugh or whatever. And this kid started mirroring everything I was doing, like to the minute detail. Everything I did, that kid started doing. And it made me realize that the same way that a kid is so easily influenced by the world around it, we are so easily influenced. Our brains are so easily molded. It's so malleable. And it means that if you're consuming the wrong content, if you're around the wrong people, you can start becoming something that just isn't you. Now, I'm not saying spend no time with anyone else because that's not practical and there's a lot of good people out there, so spend time with them. But you need to spend quality time alone. And through spending time alone, you actually not only get to know yourself better, because like we said with journaling, you talk to yourself more, which allows you to get to know yourself better. Spending time alone is spending time with yourself. The same way if you want to get to know another person better, you'd spend time with them, whether you're talking or not. Just being within proximity will allow you to get to know each other better. That's what spending time alone does. And spending time alone also helps you realize if you like yourself. A lot of people don't spend time alone and always find themselves in groups because when they're alone, they realize very quickly that they don't like their own presence. And the reason they don't like their own presence is because they haven't worked on themselves. They haven't done that inner work. There's parts of them that need to be improved and they're not addressing all of those weaknesses. So spend time alone. And if you don't like the person that you're spending time with when you're alone, then work on yourself until you actually end up loving that person. And that's so funny because it makes you realize that discovering your authentic self is less about discovery and more about actually acceptance. A lot of us don't want to accept who we are. Maybe we're not exactly who we want to be, so we run away from that person and we pretend to be something else. But when you realize that you can actually improve a lot of your weaknesses, you no longer run away from who you are. You accept who you are right now, no matter what that might look like, and you work on improving that version of you and becoming the best version of you. And the funny thing is, as you do that, you're going to start loving yourself more. There's no person on this earth who genuinely improved every part of their life, physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, that doesn't like themselves. It just doesn't exist. So spend more time alone. And if you don't enjoy doing that now, work on yourself until you do, and you will love it so much more. And this is how you're going to find your authentic self. This is how you're going to start living more authentically, becoming the most confident version of yourself, which is the most successful version of yourself. And this is how you're just going to be so much happier.